Welcome back to the On Adventure podcast. I'm Josh Self, and I'll be your host today. Today, I'm sitting down with someone whose story blends curiosity, travel, humility, and a very modern kind of expertise. You're probably going to use a credit card today, maybe even earned a few points without thinking twice about it. But my guest, Colin Stroud, has turned those tiny decisions into a full-time adventure. And as you'll hear, that journey didn't begin with a glamorous job or a grand plan. It grew out of a spreadsheet, a knack for finding cheap flights as a teenager, and a willingness to keep following the next breadcrumb life dropped in front of him. In this conversation, we explore how Colin went from a series of jobs that didn't quite fit to building a business helping people unlock travel and opportunity through points and miles. We talk about big moves, unexpected setbacks, family life with two little girls, and what adventure means to him when you're no longer chasing the next destination, but learning to build a great life right where you are. It's honest, surprising, and really fun at how someone discovers their path, not by planning the perfect route, but by saying yes to the right invitations along the way. So let's get into it. All right, Colin Stroud, welcome to the On Adventure podcast. Welcome to this environment where we talk about adventure and what that means to different people at different stages of their life. I think your take on this is going to be very, very unique. You and I have kind of known each other as acquaintances for the last few months. You've done a webinar for our wealth management clients, and really on a topic that most of us interact with, but I would say many people do not feel like an expert on, which is how to use credit cards and points and miles to get the best value out of that for pursuing our own adventures. So I think we'll talk a little bit about that perhaps, and I'll certainly give folks a link to your pages and how they can connect with you and your expertise on that in our show notes. But taking a step back, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's super fun to be here, and I'm excited. Yeah, whatever we get into, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, it's great to be here.
All right, so let's just start from ground zero. Tell folks who you are and where you're at and kind of things that you're engaged with in life right now.
Yeah, I'm Colin. I'm 26 years old and just moved to Toledo, Ohio. So was thinking about moving somewhere flashier in the world, but I'm in the more humble place of Toledo, but it's a good place. I have family here and we like it. I'm married, have two little girls, 3.5 years old and 1 year old. So having a lot of fun with them. And what I spend most of my days doing when I'm not doing family stuff, my work right now is I had this little side hustle where I was teaching people how to use credit card rewards, and it took off. And about a year ago today, so about around November, December 2024, I went full time into this business. So I'm basically a credit card rewards consultant, which sounds like a little bit of a boring name, but it's quite fun what I do. So I'm sitting down with business owners, with frequent travelers, with all kinds of people who have questions about how to win with points, miles, all that stuff. So it's mostly done through consulting calls, and then I help people book trips with their points and different things like that. So that's what I spend most of my day doing. And I primarily are getting attention and getting leads through LinkedIn. So I spend probably too much time on LinkedIn. Some of you may know me from there or see my stuff on there, but I do love the platform. I'm thankful for it, even though sometimes I wish I could just take a long vacation from it because it could be tiring. But that's mostly what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I will say, in full disclosure, I have hired you for those credit card services, and the 1 hour that we spent talking through that, I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the finance world for 25 years. I learned things from you that I did not know, and I think it will benefit my family from being able to maximize what we're already doing, just because I understand it a little bit better. So little plug for your business. I would highly recommend that to anybody listening. But so let's back up a little bit. And it doesn't sound like you grew up wanting to be a credit card consultant. So yeah. How did that happen? What did growing up look like for you, and where did you grow up and end up going to college?
Yeah, my parents are medical. So my dad's an OB/GYN, my mom's a nurse midwife. They actually met while he was in residency. Like they literally met delivering a baby together, which is kind of cute and wholesome and in a kind of a weird like medical way, I guess. Yeah. So they're engaged in that, and they have their own business now, their own practice doing that together. So that's what they do. So there was a brief thought like I would join the family business, which basically meant become an OBGYN, which for a million reasons, I very quickly decided, nope, not for me. As you can only imagine how many reasons there are not to do that. Though what they do is great. I was just like, nope, this isn't for me.
Not the
And
calling.
sometimes I think about like I would still be like basically beginning school at this age, to pursue that career.
No doubt.
Like I said, I'm 26, so it's like, oh, it takes a long time to become a physician. So that's what they're doing. But my dad had his own practice and was very entrepreneurial and all of that stuff. So I grew up mostly in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but we moved around a little bit before that. And yeah, I ended up, having no thought of what I wanted to do for work. Couldn't figure that out. I remember some girl told me if I didn't know what I wanted to do by my junior year of high school, I was ruined for life. She literally told me that,
gosh.
which I was like, and I almost listened to her for a little bit, but I was like, that's the dumbest advice I've ever heard. Because there's lots of people in their 30s who still don't know what they want to do. So anyway, yeah. So I went to a small private Catholic school in Florida called Ave Maria University with no idea of a major. And honestly, I was hoping to figure that out, and it took me a while, and I ended up doing business administration without even really like that wasn't a major I picked. It just happened to be a default thing to graduate on time because I still couldn't really find something I wanted. And so yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I grew up, and I could talk more about some of the career stuff maybe in a second, but I was kind of all over the place, but I was always doing lots of different things. Like I was super into music and was in a band or two and successful there, and got accepted into some music schools to do piano
really?
undergrad, but I didn't want it. I didn't really see any point to doing that, but I got accepted into a few like lower tier ones. No Juilliard or something like that, but got accepted to a few, and but definitely caught the travel bug in late high school. Specifically, I did a 6-week Spanish immersion trip to Spain through Indiana University. Didn't speak any English for 6 weeks, and spent a lot of time in Spain without my parents, without my family, just on my own with a host family, and kind of like got the whole real, cultural European experience. And I was like, this is awesome. This is really unique, and gave me the bug to just want to continue to start go more places. So that's how some of that started for me, for sure.
I've never been to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Is it a small town feel as I kind of in my head think of it as?
I mean, yeah, it depends what you consider a small town. Like the largest city in Indiana is Indianapolis. Fort Wayne is the second largest city. It is larger than South Bend, which is, people know about it, Notre Dame and stuff like that. So I wouldn't call it like a small town with like there's a main street and everybody knows each other and everyone goes to the same butcher or something. It's got like 300,000-400,000 people, so it's pretty sizable.
That's
but
pretty good size.
People know each other, and it's not, it's a good place for sure, but it's not like some little tiny town for sure.
Was Spain the first time you had really left that area significantly?
No, I mean, we traveled a decent amount as a family.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Domestically. North Carolina, beach trips, and Florida and California where my uncle lived. My parents traveled the Caribbean every year on vacation, and sometimes they'd take us, sometimes not. So I had been to Bonaire in the Caribbean, Grand Cayman. I'd been to Haiti on a mission trip. So I'd been around some places. And then my first experience in Europe was in 2016. So before that Spain trip, I went to Poland with a group from my church, and that was an amazing experience. That was actually my first time to Europe, which is awesome. But so yeah, I actually did 2 trips to Europe in high school without my family, which is somewhat unique. Usually people go with their family. So it was kind of fun. I was a very independent kid to be able to go out on my own. It felt cool.
What was the Poland experience like?
I went to World Youth Day, which is the largest gathering of like young adult youth Catholics in the world. So it happens every 4 years or 2 years. I actually can't remember. Maybe it's 4 years. So estimates at the final liturgy, there was like 2 or 3 million people there. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what I was told. So it's a huge gathering. So it was like people in the streets, flags, people from all over the world poured into Krakow, Poland. So it was, in a sense, a cultural experience of the world, because I was like meeting people from Australia and South Korea, like in line for a sandwich. But it was also that kind of unique European experience. And Krakow is a really cool place. So much history there. And it's maybe a little bit less Western than like, London might be, where, it's like very much preserved old town, that kind of feel. So that was a really cool experience for so many different reasons.
And then where in Spain were you?
I was in Oviedo, which is in Studias, which is like northwest part of Spain, which most people think of Spain, they think of Madrid or Barcelona, which is kind of like flat and hot and desert and dry. Oviedo is like, it's like Seattle. Like it rains all the time. There's mountains, it's green everywhere you look. It's like the Pacific Northwest, it's really, really beautiful. It rained like every day. So it's just interesting. It's like not the Spain most people think Spain is. So beautiful mountains, beautiful beaches, kind of cold most of the time. But yeah, it was really, really, really unique place and cool experience for sure.
And it sounds like you got thrown in the deep end where, if you went from all English to no English for 6 weeks, that's quite an immersive experience.
Yeah, it was super challenging, like because I felt a little bit clipped at my knees, like I can't communicate. So I mean, I'd taken Spanish, but anyone who's taken high school Spanish knows it does almost nothing for you. So this is like really throw you into it. And I mean, I signed up for it. I volunteered to do this. So it was hard, but I was with like 18 other Indiana American kids. So we kind of had each other, but we still could only speak Spanish. But we had each other to kind of feel like, okay, we're not crazy here.
Was the purpose of the trip specifically to learn Spanish, or were you doing anything else while you're there?
Yeah, I mean, we did other stuff, but yeah, it's an immersion language trip. So it was put on by Indiana University's like Spanish department. They do this every year. They send kids all over, like Mexico, Spain, and they send kids to Japan to learn Japanese and to France to learn French and all. Like, yeah, they do some. Yeah, Indiana University does some really cool trips like that.
And I mean, it sounds like your faith and Catholic upbringing has been an integral part of your life. Is that how you ended up at Ave Maria in Florida? Because that's obviously a long ways from home in Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. Like I had kind of decided, I went back and forth of like, I'm going to go to Purdue or one of these big state schools, but I was like, no, my faith is really important to me. I want to go to a school that supports that. And like I can find like-minded people and kind of grow together with them. And so, yeah, decided on Ave Maria University, which is a super unique place that Tom Monahan, founder of Domino's,
yeah.
He's a billionaire. He started it. He donated like $300 million and has continued to donate lots of money to start it. It's literally like, you've heard of the term like city on a hill. Like he mowed down a bunch of tomato fields in South Florida and built a city around a enormous like Gothic style Catholic church and built a university. So it's a really unique, kind of strange, kind of awesome place. Some people might be really confused going there, but it's a unique place. I was like, well, this is pretty, I should go do this. And it worked out well because I was dating a girl within 3 months, and that's my wife. So who I ended up marrying. So we met very quickly and started dating my freshman year, and then I ended up getting married a year before I graduated. So she was 2 years older than me. So it was definitely a good decision.
Wow.
And it was kind of scary to go that far away, but I was like, let's just do this. So worked out well.
Well, you're definitely hitting on a consistent theme in your life from what I'm seeing is independence and kind of marching to the beat of your own drum and the things that are interesting to you. Where is your wife from? Is she from Florida?
So she's actually from Toledo, Ohio, which is now where we've just moved to. So that's where her parents are.
That's where she grew up. Okay.
Yeah. So Toledo's home for her. So we ended up meeting in Florida, but we only lived about an hour and a half away from each other growing up, which is kind of funny.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So business degree coming out of there, in high school, you didn't know what you wanted to do. By the time you got to the end of college, did you have an idea of what general direction you wanted to go in?
No, I think I had gotten some good counsel of kind of like, well, I'm not going to do engineering. I'm not doing nursing. I'm, medical's out the window. So I'm doing business, which means go find a job somewhere in business, whatever that means. And so finance became the kind of obvious thing of like, okay, that seems like a good place to start. My brother was working for a large RIA wealth management firm in town. So I got an interview at his company and I got a job there, but didn't actually move forward with it. Just didn't seem to make sense. So no, I was more just looking for a job. And the way it worked actually is I got married before my senior year of college because my wife was 2 years ahead of me. And so she was kind of just waiting on me. So I thought, well, we can financially make it work to get married. So let's do this. It felt like the right thing rather than just wait a whole nother year.
Mm-hmm.
But then she got pregnant, right? Well, only a few weeks after our wedding. So we had a baby on the way. So we had a baby before I even graduated college or had a job. So there was a level of like, hey, it's no longer about what do I dream of doing? It's like, I got to just get some job. So I ended up at an insurance brokerage firm, a large one and I was on the life insurance, like case design team. So I was doing case design for permanent, like IUL, VUL, if you know that stuff, term, all the different kinds of life insurance stuff. So working with financial advisors all day. So that was my first job, which is not at all what I wanted to do. But candidly, where I was at that time is like, I just need a job. I don't know how to get a job. This one popped up because I knew a guy that was the vice president of sales there, and it just worked out. So I said yes to, and that's how I ended up there.
Wow. How long did you do that?
Not that long. Like I jumped it pretty quickly. So I don't know, like 15 months, like just over a year. So it wasn't too long.
I'm remembering pieces of your story from before. Wasn't there a point in high school though, where you realized that you could travel cheaply or do something that kind of fed this idea of traveling and exploring places, that then that seed got watered by someone saying something to you at this first job?
I'm trying to remember, you're probably referencing a post or something you might have read. I'm just trying to remember here, but I definitely got really into flights, like cheap flights and travel and stuff. Like even I was a junior in high school. So after the Poland trip, like I found like $380 flights to Italy and convinced my dad to let my brother and I go with some young adults that we were friends with. So we kind of had chaperone-ish, but not really. and it was just like so cool. So so we went to Italy and it was so awesome. And I was like 16 or 17, I guess. And so I kind of became known as like the cheap flights guy in high school, even because I was doing it so much just for fun. And I had posted on LinkedIn, like some girl's mom, like I remember come up to me and was like, hey, my mom needs help like with our spring break flight. So like I was emailing back and forth with the girl's mom as a 16-year-old, you know what I mean? Like looking for, and I wasn't doing anything fancy. I was just like, people are generally bad at or overwhelmed by travel. And so I had fun doing it. So I was like looking at it for people. So yeah, I was doing that a lot, but I actually got introduced to credit card points at that first job. The guy who sat next to me started telling me about his Chase Trifecta strategy, which if you don't know what that is, it's the using of 3 different Chase cards at once to like get a bunch of bonuses and then earn the most amount of points per dollar spent. So that was my first like intro into credit card points. I'd been doing the cheap travel like world, which I would say that like budget travel world is a separate world almost than points world. They overlap, but like they're kind of different types of people. And so I was in like budget travel, cheap travel, stay at a hostel world. And I got introduced to points travel, which that's where you like go stay at the Waldorf Astoria, but you don't pay, you use points. Like that's a different mindset, whether it's like other than just like stay in a hostel. So that job I was introduced to points, which is kind of cool.
So what did you do with that?
Not anything. I just kind of heard about it and I was like, cool. But yeah, I got into the points more personally because, and I've shared this story a lot, but some time just kind of went on and it was like, okay, well, we're, had the baby now and she's not an infant anymore. And, got a few months of like making money and not much money, but some money like paycheck. And we should go on vacation because I hate the cold or whatever. And they were just kind of looking at the numbers and, okay, we can't afford anything. So just started going down the rabbit hole of cheap travel. Well, all I knew was the cheap hostel, young single guy world. And we're not going to bring my wife and a baby into that cheap hostel single guy world. So then I was trying to find somewhere nicer and just couldn't afford it. So that's how I ended up, learning more about points. And I was like, oh yeah, that guy had been telling me. So I looked into this and yeah, before I knew it, I had a Capital One card and a Chase card and was kind of starting to figure out the points thing, reading blogs, watching YouTube videos, podcasts, all this stuff. Like there's so much content out there. And so I quickly became pretty familiar with points, only thinking about like myself and our family trying to get a nice vacation that way.
Yeah. And so it's one thing to do those kind of things as a hobby. And I'm also starting to see with you this idea of exploring parts of the world is really part of your adventure streak. But I've had a psychologist on here that's also a mountain guide.
Oh,
That
cool.
is super cool combination. But he has or says there's five components that make up a true adventure. One of the biggest things is there has to be uncertainty in what you're doing. If you know exactly what the outcome's going to be, it's not true. It's an activity, but maybe it's not truly an adventure. So the uncertainty that I also know happened in your life is as you got more engaged in this hobby, that at some point you said, you know what, I'm gonna get rid of this paycheck that is very, I forget who said it, but paychecks are very addictive. They're one of
Yeah.
the, they're one of the most hard addictions to break, but you did it, and now you're into it. So walk me through a little bit of what that was like for you to go, okay, maybe there's something here, and maybe I should take a risk on it.
Yeah, I'll try to be, brief and with all this, but yeah, a lot happened there. So I was doing it myself and thought, oh, this is cool. And then in the meantime, like I didn't like my job. It was boring. There wasn't a lot of ability, it seemingly, to move up. I had been just considered for a promotion and it didn't get it, and I was feeling dejected. And then I was watching my wife and my two brothers-in-law basically become famous on the internet. So
Oh,
my one brother-in-law has probably got about 400,000 followers on Instagram now. The other one has about 250.
doing what?
They're big. So my brother-in-law is a Christian music artist, Seth Schleter. He wrote "Counting My Blessings," which is a huge song, and my other one is the host of the #1 running podcast in the world, The Running Effect. So these are my two brothers-in-law, which is a little bit challenging to hang out with them at Thanksgiving, at that time, because like they're doing all this stuff. My wife has built a large following online as well, not as big as them. And I was like, they're not smarter than me. They're not better than me. Like they're just doing stuff. And I'm in this
Yeah.
boring, dumb insurance job. So I need to do something. So I was like, well, they're posting on the internet. So why don't I post on the internet? And I didn't have an Instagram because I was trying to avoid, some of the bad stuff that's on Instagram. And so I was like, the only social media I have is a LinkedIn, but I had been using LinkedIn some and saw a lot of financial advisors actually like doing well on there. I thought, oh, that's okay. If they can do that, like maybe I should start posting, because I kind of liked using LinkedIn. So I just started posting basically random platitudes is what I would say. Some of it was financial advice, and not like I knew what I was doing, more just like, hey, I just read this book. Here's some of my thoughts on it. So I was not trying to be an authoritative
Hmm.
financial person, because I'm still certainly not. So I started doing that. And then I had a few posts about points, just because I was in the financial type space, and those like blew up immediately. One, I even literally my first post about points, I was contacted by the Washington Post, and they wrote an article about the post, about like Gen Z wanting to travel more. Like they just found the post and interviewed me, and they basically quoted me, and like it wasn't about me, it was just like about Gen Z, but they found the posting and wanted a quote from me on it. So like I
Oh
was
my
like, oh my
gosh.
gosh, so much is happening from one post about points. And so I was like, okay, well, this is cool. What if I became the points guy on LinkedIn and just started talking about that? And so yeah, so that's how that started. And then pretty quickly, as you can imagine, it took off and people were interested and they liked what I was saying and they wanted to get on the phone with me. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could charge some money, for
Hmm.
one of these phone calls. And that's kind of where it went from there. So it's with the business today is still a pretty simple consulting business. Like everyone knows what a consulting business is. You pay someone, they teach you, help you set stuff up, and you go on your separate ways. And so that's ultimately still what it is and what it was then. But I just charged like, $45 for an hour and a half phone call, which is probably a bad idea and not very, not very lucrative. But so that's kind of how that got started. So I didn't answer your question maybe all the way of like getting all the way to ownership, but it took me then. So that was, I started posting, just for timeline, about June 2023. And then it was November 2024 so about a year and what is that, 4 months later,
Hmm.
that I quit my job. I actually had taken a new job. That's a separate story, but I quit. I put in 2 weeks, I quit the job and went full time into this business. Go Somewhere is the name of my company. And so, yeah, it took me about took me about a year and 3-4 months of posting on LinkedIn, side hustling, if you will, to be ready to take the leap to full time.
Gotcha. And I think that's a very interesting name for your business as well, because obviously it self-describes what you're helping people do, and you're encouraging them to do that. But it seems more than just a brand. Like it's more of a life philosophy of pursue something, go somewhere. Do you see it that way? Is this really kind of become part of your DNA that you're talking to people about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I one of the reasons I got so into travel, other than it being fun, is like I feel like I had some transformative, epic experiences as a teenager. The Poland trip, the Spain trip, Italy trips, other things. I did a bunch of other stuff I haven't mentioned here, and it's just like, okay, this is really amazing and like transformative and powerful. And it's like, okay, well, going somewhere leads to transformation, leads to maturity, leads to great connection with other people that you're going with. And so, yeah, that's kind of been the deeper philosophy, is like, I think it's good for people to go somewhere. And so I named my newsletter the Go Somewhere newsletter, like needing a name really quick when I first started the newsletter. And then I was calling myself Colin Stroud Travel forever, not forever, for like a year, well over a year. And that was kind of just a dumb name. I was like, Colin Stroud Travel is just not going to work, but I couldn't come up with anything better. And I hired a website guy, and he's like, well, I'm going to need the name. And I was ready to move, so I couldn't think of anything else. So I was like, well, the newsletters already go somewhere, so why don't we just do that? And so that's how I got the name. And I'm happy with it though. And I think, like, I hope it becomes bigger. So like, as much as I'm trying to make money off of like consulting, one of the dreams is to be like a big media presence, like to be an influencer, if you will, teaching people this stuff at scale through free social media content, email, all that stuff, and inspiring people to just like to go places, to take vacations. So yeah, that is definitely become a philosophy of mine. And it's been something I loved helping other people do. Even my parents, who have always made decent money, like, and they would tell you this, they considered Europe to be too expensive and untouchable. So they settled for the Caribbean, which ironically is more expensive than Europe probably sometimes. But like through my research, understanding, teaching, like I inspired them to go. And they've been to Europe like 7 times since I turned 16 and kind of got into this stuff. And so like I inspired them to start going somewhere, if you will. And I know I've inspired like literally thousands of people, which feels awesome. That's always been like, okay, I feel like I have a unique interest and passion for helping people to do this stuff. So that's kind of some of the meaning behind the name there.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think anytime we can feel a sense of purpose in the work that we get to do, I certainly feel very much that way, and why I stay engaged after 25 plus years as a financial planner. Seeing things matter in people's life, what you're doing is the same thing. Exploring different parts of the world matters to living a full, kind of wholehearted, whole human being life that you don't get if you just stay stuck in the town that you grew up in. So that's really cool. Now, what does that look like though, as you have a young growing family, and how are you and your wife looking to integrate going somewhere as a philosophy, when you and I both know it's really hard to go anywhere with little kids, let alone somewhere around the world? So what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, it's been an interesting kind of ebb and flow and discernment. So I guess when my daughter was so I have two girls. My first daughter was 18 months. She's about 3.5 now. It's 18 months, which was fall 2020, late 2023. So since late 2023, I need to remember all the things. We've done a lot of trips. So we've done Italy, we've done Bonaire, we've done Cancun, Utah, Honduras. We had trips to Europe that we canceled. We've done, I'm blanking on some things.
All of this is since kids.
Yeah, so since kids. So we didn't do anything before kids. We had no life before kids. We had college, marriage, like 9 days, and then we found out we were pregnant. So it's like our like pre-kids marital bliss was literally a few days, which is funny because some people like have, do the 6 years of marriage and then have kids, which is no judgment there, but we didn't have that.
You didn't have that.
Anyway, so we've done a ton of traveling, like a ton, especially this past year alone. I just posted on LinkedIn, like I said, like my Spotify wrapped of travel for the year, and it was a lot. And so there's a whole thing. We ended up going to Hawaii. We were thinking about moving there. It didn't work out. It's kind of a long story that we don't need to get into, but we just got back. This is now 3 weeks ago. And we're both kind of looking at each other like we're just done for a second because this is too much. We've been kind of burning the candle both ends, whatever you want to, whatever the terminology is, and just being like, this is too much. It probably doesn't actually serve our little kids, especially a 3.5-year-old who I would say, like, she's even in a place right now where she doesn't quite understand where we live. Like, she's asking about our St. Kitts home and our Utah home and our Hawaii home, and she thinks we live there because we vacation those places this year, and we're like, no, we live here. And so we're kind of getting hit with reality of, we might have pushed travel a little too hard with this like excitement and fun of like points, and we can do it, and I'm getting sponsored to do stuff now, and like I'm getting multiple like free stay options. And so we pumped the brakes and said, you know what, like, we still have this philosophy of go somewhere, but we're going to pump the brakes and pause, and we're not going anywhere for at least the next 6 months. But I really do think you can have that mentality anywhere and anything. Like, it sounds a little bit cliche, but it's very real. Like, have you been to all of the best parks in your area? Have you seen the historic sites in your area? Like, you can still go out and get that experience of like doing and seeing and experiencing. You don't have to get on a plane and go to Asia to do that. Now, it's fun to do that, but you don't have to. And also, as we all know, anyone who's ever had a child, they don't really care for a while. Like my 3.5-year-old did not really care about Hawaii. She cares about, playing with her Barbie dolls, which we can do here happily in Ohio. And you know what I mean? And it's like, she likes the beach, but we can go to a lake this summer and she'll be just as thrilled because she's 3. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. So that's a great question. We're navigating that actively, and we've probably made some mistakes there, but we are really excited for when we do have slightly older kids, and some of these more big adventures make more sense in the context of family life. Like I wish my parents had taken us to Europe for a month when I was 9 or 12. That didn't make sense for them, but like that will be I hope we can do something like that when they're more that age. That'll be awesome. So.
Yeah. So, the go somewhere philosophy at times means being rooted where your feet are and really developing around that. That's a really cool take. And it fits other conversations I've had on here. One that comes to mind with a good friend of mine from college that was my very first interview, Brew Davis. He and his wife is sponsored by some big brands. They've traveled all over the world. They've explored different, very cool places. And the last time I talked to him earlier this year, they live in Asheville, North Carolina. He said, we're not going anywhere for a while because there are so many places in the Smokies, in Pisgah National Forest, around Asheville, trails that I've never seen before. We're going to spend time exploring local. And
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're resonating with that exactly the same. And I think that is a great point that for folks listening to this that are trying to find where adventure fits in their life, is it can be anywhere. It can be as much of your mindset as it is your location, exploring things, challenging yourself with different things, and what you've done is challenging, maybe not in the physical sense, like somebody that I've interviewed that does a 500-mile race, but you're taking huge risks with your family, with your career, and with some uncertainty about what's on the other side of that step. So do you feel like that is going to continue to be in your DNA to try different things, or do you feel like you have done enough of that in the last couple months or a couple years to last for a little while?
Yeah, I don't see it like that. Like I've done my time of like pushing the travel, and now I'm just going to relax. I don't see it that way. It's kind of more of honestly a month by month, discernment and seeing where the kids are and whatnot and what opportunities come up. So yeah, I mean, I do think really though, like family life and business are the ultimate adventure. Like I've experienced more dopamine, which is not the measure of like anything, but just like excitement from business than any travel experience. Like nothing even pales in comparison to like the excitement, fun, dopamine rush of like business building and entrepreneurship. Like it is so far above travel for me. It's not even funny, to be honest. Like I would say in terms of like excitement, and I would say I've never experienced anything like no sport in high school. Like entrepreneurship is so far above like soccer in high school or climbing a mountain. It's just like it's cool because I think it's almost like realizing what you like your actual like you're getting to know yourself and you're realizing your own potential, which is really fulfilling. And in family life too, family life is less dopamine, at least at this stage, because it's like I'm tired, I'm playing Barbies for another hour, which is not always the most fun for me personally. But like it's the most meaningful thing by far. It's just not like business is going to be like almost like a drug, and like it's so exciting to make sales and do those things. But most people, I wouldn't necessarily describe family life that way, but it's the best. So like those are the two adventures that I'm focused on right now. And I know so many cool travel things will come up. And I'm also excited to to do adventure things that are age appropriate for our kids, and that it doesn't necessarily make sense to fly to Europe, but I would love to start like teaching like going skiing, even just in Michigan or something with, when my daughter is slightly older. Like that would be an awesome adventure, things like that. But no, I know that we're definitely going to continue to go places as frankly, a lot of opportunities keep coming up. And so it's a little bit hard to say no, but we are just saying no temporarily.
What do you think it is about the business side? And I think you started to hit on this a little bit, but that is such a, I don't want to call it a drug, but the drive. What is it that has you hooked to really push into that?
I mean, it's just, I don't even exactly know how to describe it. It's just I guess there's that term people use, like ikigai, which I can't remember what that means, of like what you're interested in, what you're good at, how you can make money, all coming together in one place. And so it's like every part of my being is activated. Like my brain is interested in the point stuff. So I'm like both having fun being a points nerd. I'm getting to spend time with super smart, successful people that I would have never had an opportunity to be with, making money for my family, providing a life, a house that we didn't think was going to be possible 2 years ago. And it's all happening like at once together. And it's just fun. And in my particular setup, I'm going relatively viral on the internet every other couple days. And so I'm getting like massive dopamine from that, which I understand I need to like keep myself at bay there and not get too into myself. There's a risk there. And that's why like I don't have LinkedIn on my phone because it's not on there. I haven't had it on there for months. So it's like I only can see it when I sit down to work on my computer.
You have to be intentional.
So I have to like keep protections in place like that. So yeah, I just think there's so much excitement happening, and like unprecedented excitement and success that I previously in my life, like I failed a lot of things. Like I did not really do well in any of my jobs. I didn't get any promotions, any pay raises. I didn't make very many sales. Like I wasn't good at any of the jobs I had, wasn't that good of a student. Like I did horribly on my standardized tests, average GPA. Like I just kind of like, so it's like, it's all coming together at once. Like, cause I knew I wasn't stupid. I knew I had talent, and it's like, it's all being realized in the last year and a half. It's all like coming together. So it's hard not to just like be freaking out with excitement about that. So that's kind of how I would say it. Yeah. So I don't know how to answer maybe better than that.
That's really cool though.
Like everything's finally coming together of like, I knew I wasn't stupid this whole time, but sometimes it felt like I was because I wasn't doing very well, measurably in like my career or something. But I was like, well, I know I'm not. So it needs something to break, and something broke, and this business has been doing amazing. And people are happy, and I'm having fun. So that's what it's about. So
yeah. What you're describing, and tell me if I'm off here, but is you found a platform where you can measure yourself, right? Measure up to where you're at, what you're capable of. And again, uncertainty on the other side of that. There's no guarantee that anything's going to work out, but on a daily basis, you're getting feedback of, oh, I thought I was here, but really I'm slightly ahead of where I was, or slightly behind. So I need to pick up the pace a little bit. Is that kind of what's happening as well? This measuring effect?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, there's definitely an element of that, of like, yeah, you know where you are, you can like measurably see that you are making forward progress, you're being successful, and that feels that feels awesome. So it doesn't feel like I'm just kind of spinning my wheels like I might have felt in my previous jobs of what am I even doing? I don't think I'm really contributing that much or realizing any of my own potential. So yeah, it feels great.
Yeah. So same description, different canvas than what I hear multiple times. In fact, one of my most recent interviews was with a guy that is basically the modern day Forrest Gump. He literally ran across America. He's got the fastest known time of a 50-year-old or over that completed the entire Appalachian Trail.
That's crazy.
And he does something crazy like this almost every single weekend. And I said, looking down his resume, I'm like, why do you keep doing this? And this is part of what this is my own thought on this, but as human beings, as a species, I really don't think we do anything unless there's a reward on the other side, or that we wouldn't keep doing it unless there was some sort of feedback. And so for somebody that is pushing themselves and suffering and hurting, and you've accomplished everything you've set out to accomplish, why do you keep doing it? There's obviously some sort of feedback. His answer was, because every time I toe the line, I get to measure myself against where I thought I was. And that's, you kind of described something very similar to that with this business. Is every time you show up every day and have these conversations, you get to see where you're at compared to where you thought you were. And there's progress along that. And that seems like true adventure, whether it's in the business context or in the outdoor space or anything in between. What I'm hoping these conversations do for the everyday explorer is whatever that canvas looks like for each of us, that we're finding where we measure up and we're continuing to push to raise that bar. And you're a year and a half into this. It's really interesting to think about where the bar could end up for you, because there's this term in the business world of you want to swim in the blue ocean, right? I don't know if you ever heard that.
Yes,
because
I've heard that. Yeah.
The comparison is you don't ever want to swim in the red ocean, right? That's where everybody else is. The sharks are there, and everybody's killing themselves. It's a very crowded place. Go to the blue ocean. No one else is there. The danger doesn't lurk there. And I think what you're doing, just for a little bit of feedback for what it's worth, feels like blue ocean to some extent. I know you're not the only points consultant that's out there, but
there's very few. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, very few. Yeah. So where do you think this could go? Where do you think the bar could be for you 5 or 10 years from now?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to see. There's probably a couple different routes, and I've toyed around with a bunch of different things. It would be cool, to have an infinitely scalable tech product. So some people are familiar in the point space with point.me, award tools, seats.arrow, Roam. These are relatively well-known tools. It's $10 a month. It's a software that helps find you deals. And, that's infinitely scalable. If you get an engineering team and you could sell that company to somebody for $100 million, maybe. You never know, like that kind of thing. Like that's, as we all know, like those tech exits can happen. So sometimes I think about like how cool it would be to do that. Though there's talk about a red ocean, there's a lot of people already there. So I don't know, I don't know if that would be me. I don't know even I have the aptitude to build a giant tech company. What I think makes more sense in the short term is to just continue just building momentum where I have it, which is consulting services for business owners. That's where it's super untapped market. I think I can hire more people to help me if and when I need that. And then I'm really trying to scale up the other side of my business, which is I call it my points research service. We might come up with a better name, but I have a guy who's helping me that we are not yet official, but probably becoming business partners and starting kind of a separate entity with this. But it's really just this: you got 500,000 points. You want to go to Italy. You want someone to figure it out for you with your points. We'll do it and walk you through the service. It's a white glove service business. We think that we could have a room full of 15 points mega nerds servicing 100 trips a week, doing that. The demand is out there because there's so many people with points. So that's really my main goal in terms of like scaling, if you will, is going to be that, like scaling the volume on that side of the business. To get 100 trips a week would be crazy, but if we even did 10 trips a week, that'd be awesome. Right now we're probably at we're about 5 trips a week now. So maybe we get to 20, by the end of the year. So scaling that up. And then on the business owner side of things, I have a private community for business owners. And I think it's really good. I think it's one of the better things that I've come up with here. And it's an all access to me, but it's also an all access to each other. So it's business owners, like they're in there right now. There's a chat going on about like, employee receipt management, because these people all have like a bunch of employees and they're like, well, Chase doesn't, integrate with my accounting software. And so they're having these like really interesting, very niche business owner conversations about how to optimize rewards and like that whole world of using, rewards. And they all spend, tons of money on cards. So, I mean, frankly, I think that community could be $1 million a year business. I know people with communities that make much more than that. It would take some time and I need to hire some help, but like, that's where I see it going. And I love helping those kind of people. So we'll see if that ever gets there. But that's kind of my focus, is where it's going. So I don't know if it'll ever be some big exit or something. That's not the goal. Really, too, I'm just trying to still have time to lift weights and to be with my family and not work till 1 a.m. because occasionally I do that. So that's maybe even a larger goal than money sometimes, or big. It's just like continue to have a life, because I understand that some people building these tech companies like literally do not have lives, and that doesn't appeal to me at all. So we'll see if we ever go there. But I think I have a pretty good plan going into 2026 of like how to grow. But it's really hard for me to see 5 to 10 years down the road, quite frankly. I really can only see like one right now, because even a year ago, like I barely thought I would be able to make enough money to pay our bills, and we're no longer there. So like what's happened in a year has been so dramatic, it's hard to imagine, multiple years, more than just 1 year, I would say.
So a little different kind of question from your experience in the last year and a half of going viral with a lot of different things, getting speaking engagements and media engagements, and then your wife and brothers-in-law also making the internet, a viable business. Talk to me a little bit about what are the ingredients to make that work?
Yeah, like, you're saying to make a viable internet business, basically.
Yeah, something more than just luck, right? I mean, you guys are all within the same family doing different things, and have made this adventure of an online business or an online presence work. It's got to be something more than luck.
Yeah.
If you could boil it down to one or two things, is there some consistency amongst all of you that have made it work?
Yeah, I do feel like, competent writing has been absolutely massive. Like my wife's an extremely good writer. Her brothers are as well. I like to think I'm a pretty strong writer. And it's like people are very bad at writing and very bad at communicating. And also like some humility as well, of just like not talking to people like you're above them. Financial advice, that's like such a thing. Is like if someone just comes from this ivory tower, no one wants to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But when you approach these kind of conversations with humility, as like it just goes so much better. So that's the only thing I can quite maybe explain some of my stuff, is like I've established extreme expertise, technical expertise, and maintained, I don't, extreme is the wrong word, but very strong humility. And that like no one would read my post and think that guy is so full of himself. And I feel pretty confident about that, because I'm incredibly sensitive to it. And anytime I write anything that makes me feel like I am that way, I just delete it, because I'm probably overly sensitive to it. Of like, and I do get that as a compliment a lot. So I know that people are feeling the same way. It's not just in my head, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it does feel like that we are still in the gold rush era of like internet business. I know that we're in a new gold rush of AI now, and maybe the people in 2019, like everyone was making crazy money selling courses, and that's not necessarily what's happening in 2025, 26. AI is its own thing, but still, like, it's just not that hard for anyone with any level of expertise, knowledge, to write well on the internet, maybe make some videos, maybe not, develop a few free products, learn how to send a few emails and sell. And, depends how expensive your services are, but quickly have a very viable business. Like, buyers are out there, it's just, it's incredible, I think, what's possible. And I've seen it now so many times that I really believe anyone can do it. And I continue to be so inspired by something Justin Welsh said. I think it was him, who's a big LinkedIn guru, if you haven't heard of him, and basically saying, everyone has $100,000 a year business idea in their brain and or in their Google Drive. And what he means by that is like inside of like my Google Drive was a spreadsheet tracking all my points and miles stuff, So like effectively what he's saying is like that spreadsheet was the business. And obviously there's more to it than that, but it's like, I know what he's trying to say is like everyone has some sort of knowledge or expertise where they've gone 0 to 1. They can help other people go 0 to 1 and make not $1 million a year, but some money, you know what I mean? And have a business. So that's really inspired me for sure.
Very cool. That's something else that you also do is that you're consistent with the content that you put out. And I think that I don't know exactly how the algorithms are built, but I'm sure that plays into it. And part of why I connected with you in the first place is that you kept putting stuff out. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting too. I never thought about that, And so those kind of things create this aura of expertise, but also that, hey, I'm doing this full time. That this is an ongoing thing that if you were just posting once a month, I don't think you'd be getting the same kind of traction. Is that fair way to say?
Oh, totally. Yeah. When I first started, my brother-in-law, so you do podcasts, right? He was doing one every other day. He was releasing over an hour episode every other day, nonstop for like a year. And he was posting 3 Instagram reels per day and the same ones on TikTok every single day, 3 reels, every other day podcast. So like grinding. And it's like, okay, well, how did he get to 250,000 followers? Well, that's how. It's like consistent. And it was good stuff, but it was also consistent. And so when I first started, I was like, I'm going to try and post 3 times a week on LinkedIn. I think I can do it. And it was, you know what I mean? And I'm being sarcastic there, obviously. And I'm like, what if I just did every day, and that's, I've been very inspired by like Alex Hormozy and people like that. Like anytime you think you've hit volume, you literally can and should do like 10 times more. That's not, again, obviously you don't want to be a crazy workaholic. You get what I'm saying, but like there is no cap on volume. And in the social media world, you need to have a lot. So like I often post 2 times a day. So I don't post Sundays. I try and take Sundays completely off, but yeah, it's often, 12 posts a week. But, the Hormozys, acquisition.com puts out, what do they say, like 300-400 pieces of content just out under Alex's name, like each week. And I'm at like 13 and think I'm good. You know what I mean? So he's on a whole nother level. And that's why he's got millions and millions of followers all over the place. So yeah, there's always more volume you can do. And that consistency is huge. And it's sad, unfortunately, to see so many of the people I started following when I first got on LinkedIn who I was like, oh, they're so big. And they had like 6,000 followers, and now I have a lot more than that. Like they all quit. Like most of them are gone, and they could, and that maybe they're off running into the sunset with an inheritance. I don't know, or they struck it big elsewhere. But some of them I know have completely given up on whatever their little dream was, and I just kept going. And it's I don't know, not to speak ill of those people. I don't know what happened to them, but they seemingly quit. And it's too bad because they had a ton of potential and they just stopped. So I tried to not stop. That's huge.
Have you ever considered doing something other than LinkedIn? And the only reason I ask, like going to an Instagram page where it's more visual with pictures, and a lot of what you're, this idea that you're proposing people do is see different parts of the world that visually are stunning or visually are exciting to be around. Would you ever do anything other than LinkedIn?
Yeah, I need to and should. It's obviously a bad idea to be locked into one social platform. So yeah, I still don't like Instagram, frankly, for a number of reasons. So I just literally this week started posting on X. So people keep telling me that's where all the business owners hang out anyway, is X, even more than LinkedIn sometimes. I don't know how true that is. So those are the people, I think there's people on X I need. So I also don't want to do video. Video is so hard. I don't have any video skills, and I know I'm good at text-based platforms. And so X and LinkedIn being the kind of the 2 kings of text. Instagram is more, video focused. So that's just way more effort. So hopefully X does well. We'll see. I've got my brother-in-law and some random guy from like Uzbekistan following me right now. They have like 2 followers. So so I don't even know that's a real account, and we'll see where it goes from there. But hopefully it can do well.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's actually humbling because now I'm like, I think I'm a big deal on LinkedIn, and I started an X, and I I post this week and I got 2 followers and I've got, like 1 view, and I'm like, okay, this is humbling and this is good for me to, because on LinkedIn I can post and get like 40,000 views easily if I want. And it's like, okay,
Wow.
well, let's restart this whole process over again. It's really,
Yeah.
it's humbling and it's kind of fun,
Well, let's to wrap us up. Let me ask you one last question, just to again take this conversation's been a different angle on what adventure means. So at this stage of life that you're in, how would you describe what adventure means to you?
Yeah, I think adventure would just be continuing to, like, I don't think I currently need a new adventure. Like, I think I've kind of discovered my adventure right now, which is the family life, this business, and then whatever travel opportunities are in front of me. So I think maybe 2 years ago, I was like, I don't even know what my adventure is. I'm in this boring job. I need something to go after. And I've kind of like found the adventure. And so there's not to say there's not other things that will come up, but it's kind of focusing on those 3 things and kind of just squeezing the most possible out of all of them. Then there's so much adventure to be had, whether that's like this potential partnership. I have this guy, we're starting a new entity. That's going to be an adventure in 2026 to have a business partner and scale this thing with him, or family life, like teaching my daughter how to swim and play piano and so many milestones for her. And then travel stuff. Like I know something crazy is going to be presented to us in 2026. I don't know what it is yet. Like we got offered to stay in one of the largest, most expensive houses in Oahu. We weren't able to do it just a few months ago. Like Peyton Manning is vacation there and Matthew McConaughey's vacation there. So it's like that
and
stuff's
Colin
coming
Stroud.
up. So yeah, exactly. So like I know that these things will come up. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm excited to, with assuming it works for my family, like to say yes to the coolest opportunities. And this is a little cliche, but still some of the best advice I've heard: say no to the kind of average stuff that's out there and say yes. So I can say yes to like the crazy stuff that comes up, whatever that is. So that's adventure right now, and we'll see. It's fun to think of what all will come. So I guess we'll see what happens in 2026.
That's really cool. Really cool. Colin, where can people find you and find out more about what you're doing to help people with their points in travel?
Sure thing. So yeah, LinkedIn would be good. Don't go to my X yet. Maybe wait a few months. And so LinkedIn, yeah, you can find me, Colin Stroud. My company's called Go Somewhere. My website is gosomewhere.world, WORLD. So all my stuff is there, but LinkedIn's probably the easiest place to start. Is I've got free guides on there, and you can get my newsletter and read some of my content, which obviously is free and helpful. So check me out there. Check out my website. I'd love to help in any way I can if you happen to need any of the services I offer. So yeah, everything's there. And I always I make my email pretty public for now. So yeah, please email me if you have questions or anything I do. I would love to help, and I'll respond as quick as I can.
And what is your email?
Yeah, it's just Colin@gosomewhere.world. So my full name, Colin, which is just 1 L, COLIN @gosomewhere.world.
All right, we'll put that in the contact information in the show notes.
Yeah.
And I would, again, highly recommend anybody to get in touch with you that has an interest around these things and maximizing the tools that you already have access to pursue your great life right now. This is part of it, part of the adventure. So Colin, thanks for your time, man. This has been a lot of fun in a different direction than these conversations normally go in. And I appreciate you being generous with your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was great to be here, and I really appreciate your time. So thanks again.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the On Adventure podcast. Be on the lookout for another episode dropping in a couple weeks. And be sure to go to our YouTube page and subscribe and follow us there, as well as on all the socials from Facebook to Instagram and LinkedIn. Until our next episode, I hope you stay safe and stay on adventure.